Hey there, crafty friends. It's Tina from the Scrappin' Rabbit blog here for Miss Ink Stamps. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel today. In this video, we're going to be creating a Christmas card using a stamp from the new release. This stamp set here is called Deck the Halls, and it is an adorable set with a little snowman and the front of a house or a cabin. It comes with two sentiments: may your days be merry and bright, and of course, deck the halls. I'm going to go ahead and stamp and emboss my image. So I'm prepping my paper using my anti-static powder tool, and I'm going to use some VersaFine black ink. This is a brand new stamp. So what I like to do is I like to pat it down with the palm of my hand so that it's not super sticky. The VersaFine makes a nice crisp image, especially when you have one that has so many details like this. However, you can't use your Copic markers unless you cover it up with the embossing powder. And so I'm going to go ahead and melt that and heat set it. The VersaFine doesn't play nice with the Copics, and you don't want to run your markers over the embossed lines either. Especially with a detailed image like this, it's pretty easy to do with Copics because you're just dotting in the blank spaces. So here's my colored image. It did take me a while to do it because of all the little teeny tiny images in that stamp set. So now I'm going to go ahead and create the background for my card. This is the last blue blend background that I'm going to be making for my Christmas cards this year. I just fell in love with this look and found myself being drawn to these blue blended backgrounds for many of my projects so far. I'm going for a darker look, and I'm using the faded jeans and the prize ribbon towards the top of my card panel. I'm going in with several layers because the Distress oxides don't go as deep as the regular Distress inks, but they do blend much easier, and so it's faster to do a background using the oxides from what I have experienced. But it does take a lot of layering to try to get that color to be nice and deep. So initially my thought was to do a starry sky background, but then I changed my mind because the image shows just the front of the house or the cabin and not the entire house or cabin. So I steered clear from the clear night sky and was going to go for a snowy background after all. So I'm blending out with the lightest color the tumbled glass, and since the bottom of the card is going to be a snow background, I didn't go all the way down to the bottom. So just going in and adding a little bit more color and making a nice seamless blend. I love that ombre effect with the darkest going to light, and I just love the way the Distress oxides blend so easily. So this just gives you an idea of what I was thinking of. I'm going to go ahead and trim this paper using a stitch rectangle die, and stamping the sentiment, you want to make sure that your ink is dry. So I'm just taking my heat tool to my panel just to make sure that it's nice and dry so that my embossing powder does not stick. I'm going to go ahead and use the May Your Days Be Merry and Bright sentiment and prep my paper using the anti-static powder tool. And then the embossing powder that I'm going to use is from Ink on 3. I'm going to use the Versamark to stamp the sentiment. And then I did get a new embossing powder. It is a fine white from Ink on 3, and I really love the detail that you get with this embossing powder. This sentiment is on the smaller side with the cursive writing, and sometimes it's hard to get a nice clear stamped sentiment unless you're using some really fine embossing powder, and this definitely did the trick. It's always good to heat up your heat tool nice and hot before you bring it to your card panel so that it helps to prevent the warping. So now to get my snowy background, I'm going to break out my little splatter box. The first thing that I'm going to do is add some splatters of water to lift up some of the ink to make the snow background. I'm going to do a few different things. I'm going to get the water, then I'm going to water down some acrylic white paint and splatter that. But first I'm going to cover up my sentiment so that I don't get any paint on there, because I do want that sentiment to be nice and crisp and clear. So splatter, splatter, splatter. I want there to be a lot of snow on this back panel because, as I mentioned, the house is kind of being covered, or the stamp doesn't show the full house. So that way you can see the front of the yard nicely lit with all this snow happening. I'm going to also use some of my Glimmer Mist to add some more droplets. These are silver sparkly droplets, and I think that it just looks so pretty. I let that dry and I went ahead and folded a top folding A2 size card base, and I added some double-sided adhesive foam on my image, and now I'm just going to adhere this layer down with some liquid glue. I do like to pop up my stamped images. It gives it a little bit more definition. You can, of course, just glue it right onto the panel. I like to smooth out the glue lines with my bone folder, and then now all that's left to do is add my image to the card. So lots of snow on that background, and then my image just pops nicely. I'm going to add a little bit more sparkle using a sparkle marker, going over the Christmas lights that I colored, the multicolored lights. I'm also going to add some sparkle to the ribbon on the wreath and the scarf and hat of the little snowman. This was a really fun image to color, and it has that nice cozy home winter look, and that completes my card. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel. I hope you liked my video. I hope you like my card. You can check out all these products in the links below, and there's lots of new stamps and stencils at the shop, so go ahead and click on the links and it'll take you right there. Thanks again for stopping by. I hope you have a fantastic day, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye for now.